here, and so glad that Denise is making chili today, like she's supposed to. So I'm early, I'm late, but so happy you're here. I look forward to this every week. Deb came up with this idea. We hadn't been able to cook together for the refugees. It's so enjoyed cooking together and eating together. And when Deb came up with this idea, it just seemed perfect. Anybody can share their recipe. We can make it together. It gets us cooking something new and something in a community. And I think this has really worked, people telling stories about their own recipes and what cooking reminds them of. So I hope somebody here might want to share a recipe and can let me or Deb know that they'd like to guest chef one week. And I will turn it over to Denise for chili.
All right. Thanks, Dominique. Hello to everybody and Happy New Year. It's great to see all of you. I am very excited to cook this recipe. When I first saw it, I thought it would be nicely adaptable for what we're trying to do. Full disclosure, I have not made this recipe before, so you are going to be co-experimenting with me. I've made chili before, and I think it's going to be really doable. But what's nice about it and why I wanted to use it for today is that like all of the recipes we've been doing together, it's very adaptable. You can make a meat chili or you can make a veggie chili, and I'll be interested to hear who's doing what as we go along. I am going to be making the basic recipe as it is stated with the beef. But I'm also going to bulk it up a little bit because I know I want to be giving some of it away. So I'm going to be adding some extra veggies, some extra black beans, extra corn, some of the vegetarian options that are at the end of the recipe. I'm going to add into the meat version. So there's absolutely no wrong way to do this. If you have any questions about what you might want to add, go right ahead. But it can just be your own individual thing. So I'm going to get started because I think it'll take a little bit of time to brown the meat. So I didn't want to cheat and go ahead of anybody. So I'm going to get my oven going here. And that's the first thing that we'll do is brown the 3 pounds of hamburger. So I'm going to get the heat going on the stove. It's been a long time since I browned that much meat. So it's going to be interesting to see if I need to drain it or not. If I see a pool of a lot of fat on the top, I'll go ahead and do what they say in terms of using the slotted spoon and then getting rid of the excess fat. Otherwise, I won't bother. The meat that I'm using is 85% lean. So it'll be interesting. It's kind of in between, you know, the fat and the real lean stuff. So we'll see what we get. So who's cooking with beef tonight? Okay, so we have a mixture. Good.
I'm cooking both because, as you know, I cannot follow directions. but I do have a question, a real important question on the vegetarian one. So it asks for 2 15-ounce cans of rinsed and drained lentils. I have never seen lentils in a can. You found them. Were they from Goya?
Oh, look at that, Goya.
Oh, I didn't.
Excellent.
I figured I'd use garbanzos instead.
Oh, that'll work great. Yeah.
Okay.
And I'm using ground turkey instead of beef.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, and I'm using half ground beef and half mushrooms.
I thought about that too.
I knew this group would be creative. I like that. Yeah, I have to start thinking of mushrooms as a meat substitute. I think that works in a lot of recipes, doesn't it?
Yeah.
I think I'll put the mushrooms into the vegetarian one because it'll give it more body.
Yeah.
Yeah, and mushrooms give a lot of umami too. So they enhance a flavor. I think I haven't tried it, but I've made other recipes, mushrooms and beef. And those other recipes I've made were mostly mushrooms and very little beef. But this time, half and half. Thank you.
If you're cooking with the beef and you're waiting for the pot to warm up, or for the beef to start cooking, and you haven't already, opened up cans of veggies or measured any of your spices, now would be a good time to do that while you're waiting. I've got the cumin and chili powder and salt and all those things in a little bowl on its own, all to put in. And salt is one of those things I started with a teaspoon. The recipe calls for 1.5 teaspoons. That's going to vary a lot depending on your taste, if you want to watch your sodium and what you're using in terms of the canned vegetables, because the tomatoes and the beans are all different. Sometimes I buy the low sodium version, sometimes I don't. So that's just that's all going to be to your taste. All right, so it seems like the pan's hot enough, so I'm going to go ahead and add the beef. And I did use the tablespoon of oil, and which I always kind of question that when I see that in a recipe, like, really, with all this beef fat, you want me to add oil? But I did it because it said so. So we'll see. We don't want to be chintzy on the flavor. Some of you have probably heard me rave about one of my favorite Pampered Chef items. I don't even know what they call it, but it's like a star-shaped thing at the end, and it really is good for mashing up vegetables or ground meat. So I use it quite a bit.
Last week, somebody was asking about the can openers that open from the side so it doesn't leave a sharp edge. Marge, was that?
Yeah. I don't remember who asked about it, but I own one, so I remember it coming up.
Yeah, I think it was Marge, but anyway, I could show how to work it now because I just learned. But
Oh.
how was everybody's New Year's? Anybody want to share any New Year's story?
Good, but can I ask a question first?
Yes.
Do you ever, like, when you make like brown the meat, do you add spices to the meat itself while it's cooking? Because I usually like, pepper and garlic. I do it all like while it's cooking, but then if I drain the fat, I think I lose a lot of it.
Yeah, I think that's what we usually say to add it after, I think, for that reason.
Yeah, I go with what the recipe says, but I think what Deb's saying is right. If you're going to get rid of the fat, then you'll get rid of some of the flavors that, not all, but some of the flavors that you put in there. Yeah.
Denise, I have a question about your gizmo.
Sure.
What is it made out of? Is it metal or a hard plastic?
It's a hard plastic. Yeah, some kind of polymer. Yeah, so it's pretty heat resistant. And I toss it in the dishwasher. Yeah.
Interesting. Thank you.
Sure.
Can you show us that gizmo? Because I was washing peppers that seemed to be missing from the recipe. So of course I added green peppers because, again, I don't follow directions well.
I'm sorry, did you have a question, Marge?
Yeah, I wanted to see that.
Oh, yes. It's this is the side view, and that's the head-on view, so you can see the star shape. Yeah. I want to do a special shout out to Rachel. I see she's joined us. She's not on video, but she's a friend of mine from Massachusetts, and hey Rachel.
Hey, Denise. Sorry, I feel like I'm trolling the cooking.
Oh, not
but
at all. We
yes,
love trolls. We have trolls every week.
Welcome,
I-
Rachel.
well, thank you. So I'm not cooking. I'm actually eating pizza, but you know, I love to get like a new recipe for the chili, and you know, just when you talk about how you make it, it's really great. So
Awesome.
I do plan to make it soon, but I'm not actually making it tonight. So
Good. No
Probably-
rules here.
yeah, I should probably turn off my camera and disappear.
Okay.
But hi to everybody, and you know, I think it's wonderful that you're doing this with a goal for expanding it into kind work.
Yeah.
Yeah. Rachel is a kind worker, even though she hasn't worked with us here in Maryland. She's very involved with a group in Massachusetts called Neighbors in Need, and they do a lot with the food insecure and low income crowd in the Lawrence, Mass area. And in fact, they put on a soup dinner every year as a fundraiser, well, except for this year. So we know
true.
this soup angle.
Fingers crossed for 2021. We'll see.
Yeah. Oh, I hope you can do it. What month do you usually do it?
Danielle, I see a familiar last name on your on the thing that says who you are, Danielle.
Yep, I'm joining from Atlanta.
Welcome.
Thank you. Thank
Oh,
And you're Marcia's daughter?
you.
Nice to see you.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. I joined last week as well, which was super awesome. I had,
Right, but I only saw Danielle, so I didn't.
yeah,
I didn't.
I figured I would change it.
Hi, Danielle. I'm sorry, my Danielle isn't.
We have to match.
Next time.
Yeah, it's good to see you, Danielle.
Hi, everyone. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year, Selma.
Good to see everybody. I wanted to ask if anybody has any particular goals for this year or anything they'd like to focus on or.
That's best. Don't have any goals.
The goal is to get a vaccine.
Yes,
How's that?
definitely. For me, it's definitely focusing on my health and sort of prioritizing that. I've experienced some health challenges the last several months, so really focusing, making that a priority.
Mine is to stay socially distanced from my refrigerator.
You know, everyone talks about social distancing, but I've always had a problem with that term because I think we want to say socially connected and physically distanced.
Yeah.
And the idea of being socially apart is exactly what we want to work against. So finding ways of being socially connected while in safe spaces.
Yeah,
So,
like this.
like this.
Yeah, exactly.
That's
I
true.
wish they had started saying physically distance in the first place, and that would have caught on, because I think we just use socially distance, but I agree 100% that we forget we can stay socially connected while staying physically distanced. And you're so right.
I kept trying to use physically distant, but like signs started coming up saying
Yeah.
socially distant. It didn't catch on.
I'm focusing on my health this year as well, eating healthier, losing some weight, exercising more, and just kind of getting through and looking forward to a time where we can be together again more normally. I feel like at the beginning, I had no idea it was going to last this long. And then, but it's nice to be turning a corner, and, you know, it's starting to seem possible that maybe by summer, hopefully by fall for sure, things will be somewhat back to normal. Although I think we're going to change a lot of our habits, shaking hands. I think I'm going to start wearing masks on planes all the time. it's interesting. I'm already sort of thinking what things are gonna change. I think I've been doing a lot of this instead of shaking hands, and I think that's gonna stay. So I don't know, what else do other people think?
Yeah, I think, oops.
So you guys, I'm sorry, I just don't want to interrupt, but I just want to let you know what I'm doing as I do it. I was really debating on messing with getting any of the liquid out, but I decided to do it. It seemed like there was enough. So the hamburger is pretty much browned. I used a slotted spoon to get most of it into a bowl, and put the rest through a sieve. And so that's going to be set aside. And now we're going to go on to get the vegetables into the pot. So I'm just going to scrape up the last of the hamburger that's in here. And I think it calls for another little bit of oil. Yeah, a tablespoon of oil into the pot. And then we'll get those onions in there. So let that oil heat up a bit. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt whoever was speaking. Who are the brave people using jalapeno peppers in their chili? Ah.
My daughter was helping me chop, and that's why I turned my video off to help her, because we needed to do some milk
for
her fingers and eyes.
Yeah.
But Dominique, I have a question. I didn't do the jalapenos, but I've got Trader Joe's fire roasted green chilies, or Trader Joe's Hatch Valley salsa, which uses green chili peppers. What do you think?
I think it was meant for Denise, since I confused everybody by thinking I was the chef.
Oh, I'm sorry, could you repeat that? You were asking about a Trader Joe's product you found?
Right. Rather than using the jalapenos, I've got either the Trader Joe's fire roasted green chilies, or the Trader Joe's Hatch Valley salsa, which uses the green chili peppers as well as.
Okay.
What do you think?
I like either one. I like maybe the chilies only because they're going to be the salsa is going to add some liquid, which you may just have to boil that off a little bit. Or use a little bit, maybe not, when you put in your tomatoes, you could use less of the liquid. So you just have to make that adjustment if you choose that. But I think either one is a good choice for getting in some milder flavor.
All right, good idea.
I'll say, just as a general rule, when I'm cooking beans, I often throw in a can of salsa, and I often use the Hatch Valley. I'll also use just like the Herdez green salsa, or a can of tomato salsa, depending on what I'm making. And it's like a cheat. Do you know what I mean? For a quick dinner, especially if you're using canned beans. So not necessarily for this recipe, I wouldn't want to mess with the liquid.
Right.
But I do find if I'm making a quick dinner, I'll throw, I'll often saute. Trader Joe's has chopped fire roasted onions and peppers.
Right.
I'll throw those in. Then I'll throw in, meat if I'm using it, and then the beans, and then some spices, including salsa, and it kind of brings it together quickly.
Right. Okay, that liquid is a good point. So, all right, so I'll just open the green chilies later.
So I've got the onions. They've been here for a minute. I'm going to let them cook for another minute or so, along with the garlic. And here's where you'll put the jalapeno peppers if you have them too. And we'll let them soften up. And I just want to talk a minute about the choice they give you here between tomato juice and brewed coffee. I'm going to go with the tomato juice, but I don't usually keep tomato juice around. I don't drink it. So a lot of times what I'll do is a mixture of just tomato paste and water, both of which are in the recipe anyway. So I'm going to use the 5 tablespoons of tomato paste, which is coming up, to add that. But I'm going to add an entire, 6-ounce can, which is actually about 10 tablespoons. So 5 tablespoons of tomato paste for what they ask for, and then the other 5 tablespoons of tomato paste to make my water into tomato juice, if that makes any sense. So I'm just kind of faking tomato juice. If you have it, go ahead and use it. If you don't worry about it. You can use, like, those tomato products tend to be very interchangeable.
Denise, I was
So
by the
sure, go ahead.
in this recipe. What do you think coffee does in chili?
That, you know, I was hoping someone would use it and let me know if it tastes at all like coffee or not. I'm thinking it's kind of like the cinnamon, where you're not really going to taste cinnamon in it, but it's just going to give it a kind of a body in the flavor. I don't know. Does anybody have any input on that? Has anybody used it before?
I haven't used it before, but I think with the coffee and the cinnamon, it may suggest a little bit of a mole flavor, which I thought was intriguing.
Oh.
So I'm using the coffee, and I'll let you know. I've never done that before, but I was intrigued.
All right.
I'm using it also. And I usually put chocolate in chili when I make it, a square of unsweetened chocolate. And so I think this is sort of along those same lines. You can't really taste it. It's a subtle undercurrent in chili.
I love that idea. And then you can have one chocolate bar for the chili and one for the chef.
Well, it's actually, you know, it's that kind of really bitter cooking chocolate. So
are you going to do that, Kelly, now?
No, I'm going to use the coffee because I'm intrigued.
Okay.
I'm curious to see what the coffee tastes like. So I'm not going to put the chocolate. I'm just going to do the coffee and see what happens.
What you're just making a cup of coffee, or
I made a cup of coffee. Yeah. I poured it like a cup. I measured a cup into a cup, and I made a 1 cup Keurig.
Okay.
And I'm let it cool, and I'm just going to pour it in when it's time.
So Susan and I did exactly that, and it's delicious. If anybody's nervous.
Do you want to guess what I used?
Something unauthorized. What was it? Iced tea or something whack jobby, but delicious. What?
Bloody Mary mix.
Bloody Mary mix. That's good. Yeah.
I had the leftovers. I had just a little over a cup of Bloody Mary mix in the fridge. And I thought there's a great way to get rid of it because I'm not going to drink it in the winter time. It's just sitting there. So here was a good use.
I've got the tomato paste here now with the spices, and I've stirred it up a little bit, and it looks like it's definitely smelling great, and it's starting to stick a little bit to the bottom of the pan. So now's where you add your coffee or tomato juice.
It's very interesting. There's actually a whole cookbook. I like this blog, Serious Eats. They have like a pastry chef, and they have all kinds of chefs like J. Kenzie Lopez, who wrote the Food Lab, and they write about the chemical reactions and why you do things. But Stella Parks, who's the pastry chef, did this fascinating one about unexpected flavors that she puts in her baking, not so that you can taste it, but because it's a complementary or natural pairing with the flavor. So I think it's like when she makes a pear tart and she's poaching the pears, she puts Chinese 5-spice powder in there. Not enough to taste it as its own flavor, but because it brings out something in the pear. And I think she wrote an article on this. I'll try to find it and post it to the chat, that talked about these unexpected pairings. And that's why chocolate in chili or coffee can make a lot of sense. Or even I have chocolate chip cookie recipe where you'd put some coffee in it. Not because you would taste the coffee, but because it brings out the other flavors. And so I'll see if I can find that article. But when you guys were talking about that, it reminded me that things that sound weird can have this really important purpose.
Cool. I've gone ahead and added the tomatoes and beans and the beef back in. In my case, I added black beans as well as kidney beans. And I actually added a few extra tomatoes since I was adding extra beans. I think I'm gonna have a lot of chili, which is good. And I hate when recipes do this, but if you see in the second paragraph, I'm not sure how it translated on the onto our website, but you also want to add at that point 1.5 cups of water. That's not listed as an ingredient, but you want to make sure you add that in at that point. That's kind of like when you're cooking and you make pasta and you drain it, and then you see somewhere in the recipe that says, and use half a cup of pasta water. And you're like, no, mine's all down the drain. Yeah, this is a much better consistency with the water added. All right, that's looking good. Now I have corn, but that is suggested to add at the end because it doesn't really need to cook for very long. So that will save till the end. And now it's just bring to a simmer and cook for about 30 minutes. So if you don't see it simmering, and it probably isn't after adding all that stuff, bring your heat up until it boils, and then you can bring it back down for a bit. And so the last things that we're going to add are the corn, and then tablespoon of red wine vinegar, which is interesting. I haven't added that before to chili. So I have my liquid here from the hamburger that I strained, and I wanted to remember to mention to you guys that I found a fun thing to do with drained hamburger fat. I just read somebody on Facebook recently had a tip. If you like to feed birds in your backyard, you can take a little bit of oatmeal, maybe half a cup or so, and add it to the beef fat that's melted. And once that sets up and solidifies again, it's like a suet, and you can just put that out in the ground by your bird feeder. So that's what I've been doing, and it helps to clean it up too, because I always had to wait overnight till it got solid and dig it out of the bowl with a paper towel or whatever. But this is something that it can be useful for the birds, and it helps you to clean up your kitchen too.
So going back to the cocoa for a minute. So McCormick's to have this cocoa chili blend, which I used in all my chilies, that because it's like a milder, sweeter chili. I don't see it anymore. So now I just mix up chili powder with unsweetened cocoa. And, I don't know what the blend is. I just kind of wing it, but it does. I really like the taste of cocoa in the chilies. And a shout out to Dominique. I bought one of these things after she was raving about it, and I had to use fresh nutmeg on in a dessert the other day. And this is just unbelievable. This
so glad. And I'm going to try the cocoa in chili. That's a great idea. Just to go ahead and add the flavor rather than chocolate.
And so we don't like things too spicy. So it's like a sweet spicy. It's good.
Marcia, where did you get that lemon zest or whatever?
I think I want to say Williams Sonoma. It's OXO, OXO.
Okay.
OXO brand, and it's like unbelievable. The one mistake I made is I tried to zest an orange, and I think I didn't dry the orange enough after I washed it, and that doesn't work so well. So if you use it for zesting, just make sure you dry the fruit first.
How do you clean it, Marcia?
Was it?
How do you clean it? Because I've used the microplane and it gets stuck.
Yeah, it didn't though. So I just used a sponge. The inside is not sharp, so that's easy to clean, and then just run the water over the other side and make sure you do the sponge in the direction that's not sharp.
I just use my kitchen brush on the underside. Ginger is a little tricky. You need to make sure it hasn't dried on, but I love mine. I have mine is microplane brand, which is what originally came out. I've actually seen them at TJ Maxx and stuff like that. So anywhere that sells kitchen stuff will likely have it. But I love mine. I've had it for 20 years.
Dominique, you just referred to your kitchen brush as if it's something that everyone owns.
Oh,
I don't know if I own it.
Here. Just this, like for your dishes.
Oh, okay.
Nothing exotic. But there are things like that. Like I read that Serious Eats blog and they're like, why you should have a salt pig. I'm like, a salt pig? It's basically just a little container of salt that you can grab a handful, right? Instead of your shaker. You know, so there are weird exotic things like that, but I think they're not really necessary.
I wanted to ask you guys if anybody has something that they usually serve with chili. You have any particular side dishes that you always like to have with it? If it's whether it's meat or vegetarian. Tonight I'm trying baked potato skins, like they'll have cheese and sour cream and bacon. Definitely not a vegetarian night at the Schleckser household, but it often is not.
Cornbread is a nice compliment too.
Yeah, I was going to say that, Betsy. My daughter a couple days ago made a really nice jalapeno cornbread. Yummy.
Oh, nice. So mine is just starting to boil, so it's gonna be a good 30 minutes. And I think this is the kind of thing that you can just cook it for the, a half-hour minimum, and then if you've got longer, just keep it on warm or keep it in a crock pot till you need it.
So if I have stewed tomatoes and not diced tomatoes, do you think that matters?
Stewed tomatoes, what are the ingredients on that? Do they put other spices?
Tomatoes, tomato juice, sugar, salt, dried onion, celery, bell pepper.
Yeah, okay. So it's more than tomatoes, but none of that stuff is going to hurt your chili, so I will go ahead.
So one thing, when I make chilies, I like to use like white kidney and pinto and dark red. I like a mixture of the different colored beans.
Oh,
So
nice. Yeah. Yep. I seem to be making a lot of things each winter that have kidney beans or black beans and corn and tomatoes. Just buy those cans like crazy at the grocery store. I don't know, I'm having cocoa envy here. Do you think if I put it in now that everything else is all together, that it would be a bad time to put it in?
I think it's fine.
Yeah. For a recipe this size, what, like a tablespoon maybe?
I think that would be good. Yeah.
So a tablespoon of just hot cocoa.
Like the Hershey's cocoa?
Yeah,
cocoa.
unsweetened. It's
got it.
Right. I can tell if it's unsweetened, but if it is, yeah, that's the right stuff.
Yeah, okay.
So when I cook my chili, I don't need to leave a top on it, right? Don't cover it.
Let's see. I think you want to leave it uncovered, so that you. Well, it kind of depends on what consistency you're going for. If you do want it to get a little thicker, then you'll want to leave it uncovered.
Okay.
If for some reason it's the
more water, so.
True. Yep.
Okay.
So you were talking about things to go with chili. We often top it with sunflower seeds. It's a little different, or pumpkin seeds, I should say, pumpkin seeds.
Oh, that's fun.
It's good.
Yeah.
I have to say, I love just finely chopped yellow onion and a little sour cream and cheese, like really traditional. I love that.
Yeah.
I want to know how it is with a baked potato. I've heard of that, but I've never done it.
Yeah, I'm just thinking the chili could go on top of the potatoes. I was thinking of the potatoes as a side dish, but it would be a nice topper.
I've heard of that when people cut it in half and then load the potato with the chili and the cheese. I bet it would be delicious.
Yeah, yeah. I think
And
so.
isn't Cincinnati chili traditionally served on spaghetti? I'm not suggesting that.
Yeah.
Yes,
That's a thing.
that's actually a good way to do it too. I've had that. Yeah. Yeah, because it's so meaty that sometimes I need carbs with most meals, so might as well be spaghetti.
If you have little kids, that's a good way to do it. That's how I got my kids hooked on chili. Was the Cincinnati chili, putting it on pasta, and it was almost like spaghetti but different. And then we still kind of eat it like that or on rice, or you could put it on like tortilla chips, cheese on the top, and then put it in the broiler for like 3 minutes and make like nachos out of it. I've done all of that. My crafty ways to get people to eat things.
Recipe smells good.
Yeah, it is smelling good.
I just tasted mine. I tasted the vegetarian one. It's spicier than I expected it to be, but not killer spicy. I just can taste it on my tongue. I think all that cumin and coriander and chili.
We're talking about getting kids to eat different things. Jerry Seinfeld's wife wrote this book and someone gave it to me. It's called Deceptively Delicious, and it's all these recipes that sort of hide good stuff for you inside stuff that kids would like. Kind of interesting. It's like, brownies and I don't know. Anyway, it's interesting.
They have a great chili recipe, and they put vinegar, which I noticed, Denise, that we have vinegar in this one, and it's again one of those things you don't taste it, but it adds like a brightness and a tart. That's a really good chili recipe.
What about cheese on it? What about cheese on this one? Are people putting cheese in or not? Or
not in, but it would make a nice topping.
Well, but I'm packing it all up. I'm not having any of it. I made matzo balls. Go with chili.
Maybe once it's cooled, like once you've packaged it, but before you put the top on, you could put maybe a sprinkling of cheese. I just think you might lose the cheese flavor if you stir it in.
Yeah, I could.
Or it might thicken it.
That white chili chicken one, we mixed the cheese in with the beans and the chicken, right? Didn't we?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's what the recipe called for. I didn't end up doing that, but it did call for that. Yeah.
I did that and it was really good. I was intrigued because you don't usually see that in chili, but it was really good with the cheese in it.
I think you're right, though. I think I'm going to put it on top, much like I do with the cilantro when the recipe calls for that, rather than mixing it. Thanks.
So for people who are out of this area, what are you expecting that you might do to share your extra chili today? Anybody have ideas or how they're going to share what they're making?
I think I'm going to do Black Rock again. They're still taking soups and chilies, right?
Absolutely. They've been thrilled. Yeah.
Denise, is there a place in Rockville? I know we went there once off Goody Drive.
Yeah, it's not open. Oh, actually the women's shelter is now taking because it's January.
Oh, yeah.
Cofield. No, Cofield is.
They just wanted it Cofield.
For spring.
Okay.
Although I'll tell you what, we're having soup and salad as a dinner, and I think there were some soups open. Let me just check and see if you want to sign up for the dinner and then drop off your chilies there. That would count as your soups for the soup and salad meal.
That would be good.
I'm open for suggestion too, what to do with mine.
Where are you located?
I'm in Bethesda.
So you know what I'd like to have us try to hit 70 at help. What's the name of that one? I put it in the chat. Everybody.
Here to help. I dropped mine off there last week. It was there was a ton of stuff. It was really great.
Yeah, and it goes right from the Sunday drop off to boxes to people's homes. So if we can reach up to 70, I think we're at about 30 last week. And if we can reach 70, then everyone that they help will get a quart of soup, or chili in this case. So it's 4814 Fallstone Avenue in Chevy Chase. They have a cooler and a box out front from Sundays from 2 to 3:15. So if that's convenient for anybody on this call that wants to drop off there, that would be really great.
And it couldn't be easier. You just pull up,
Right.
drop
Okay.
it in a box. It's really, it's
That's
in front of
great.
someone's house.
Yeah.
It's very easy.
Right. So Deb, I think
I can do that.
Deb, I think I'm going to be doing that. Are you still wanting us to deliver it frozen? In
Yes.
this case, I guess we need to freeze it tonight.
Yes, everybody, please do try to deliver your foods that are going to any food assistance providers frozen. It just gives them a lot more room to not worry about food going bad in transportation.
I'm gonna send mine to Chevy. I'll take mine.
Sure.
And I can stop by and pick yours up if you want.
You can stop by and leave yours and I'll drive it. You do too much.
Aw, hi Ann, I'm glad you're back.
And I was just going to add that this, the place we're talking about, it's something that a young person started, a teenager, was in high school. It's a food pantry started by this amazing young woman named Lily. And she's now a freshman in college, but I think she started when she was still in high school. And of course, COVID just exacerbated the need further. So yeah, it's an amazing effort started by, an 18-year-old.
Okay. This is the one in Chevy Chase you're talking about?
Yes.
Oh, girl power.
Yeah, exactly. Do it.
Okay, I'll be dropping off 4 quarts then.
That's awesome.
Tomorrow.
Everybody, yes, last week I shared a Google document that we were asking you guys to start to get used to using. I just put it in the chat now. It says contact tracing for the kindemic. Please use this link to report how many quarts of soup or stews you share with others so we can keep track of how the virus is the kind virus is spreading. And so there's a link in the chat. And if you can start to get used to using that rather than emailing me, it just kind of makes it, even easier. So thank you for all that you're doing and for helping us kind of keep track of what we're adding to the community. Appreciate that.
And Deb, just to clarify, is this the same form that if we go onto the website, we enter it there? So if we don't even capture there, we can go to the soup.
Exactly, it's right.
Okay, that's what I did last week. Thank you.
Thank you.
And for those of you who are out of town, still report back anyway. We still want to know.
Yeah, it's fun to find out all the different ways and places people are sharing.
So Deb, I seriously want to know about this drop off. Do you really want me to drop? I've got the frozen soup that I cooked earlier in the week because, of course, I didn't be naughty to consistently naughty. But so I have, I don't know, maybe 7 quarts down there, and I'll have whatever I have up here. You really want all that in Chevy Chase versus Black Rock? Because I'm happy to drive other people's stuff up to Black Rock. I don't mind going up there.
Whatever you prefer, Marge, it's all great. There isn't any right or wrong, any better than anything else. It's all going to be getting to people who are going to appreciate it and in many cases need it. So whatever you do is absolutely great.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
I wanted to go up there because I thought I would go to Costco on my way back.
Okay.
Because someone, when I dropped off at Black Rock a couple of weeks ago, had been using these rectangular containers. And while I don't think they're the greatest thing for soup, they're a lot easier to put in freezers and a lot easier to transport. So you know, if you don't fill them all the way, you're fine. And I did buy them last week to try them out, and I thought they were good, so I wanted to pick up a couple more.
Great.
Yeah, they're less expensive than what I had been ordering from Amazon, unless someone has a better soup container.
Well, Dominique had shared early on about a restaurant supply store that anyone can order from. It's all online. I think it's called Webstaurant. Dominique,
Yeah,
is
I'll
right?
post the link in the chat.
Okay.
Yeah, that sounds right. And it sounds like a lot when you go to order, but especially if if you want to pitch in with somebody else, you can go through them once enough Saturdays go by.
Yeah, and I got these online. Just these are actually, I thought they were bigger. They were only a pint, I guess. So you could fill a lot of them with one of our batches, but they were just on Amazon, like 48 of them for $17, I think. So
Right. So I got 40 of the taller version of that for about $20 on Amazon, but the ones at Costco were significantly less. I think there were 25 of them for $6.99. So that's why I thought I was going to go buy more of those. And it's so much easier to stack them when they're flat like that. I can show you.
Okay.
So I just did a taste test, and I didn't use jalapenos. It needs some, I don't know if over the next 30 minutes of cooking, it's going to bring out more flavor, but I feel like it needs some more oomph. Any suggestions? Just more chili powder or pepper, cayenne?
I agree. I just tasted mine and I thought it was a little bit flat as well. I put more salt in it because I just put the minimum amount. So I added some more salt, and then I actually did take a little piece of unsweetened baking chocolate and threw it in there because I don't know what it needs exactly, but I was like eliminating, process of elimination, what it's not in there and what might enhance it. So, but chili is one of those things that also tastes better the next day. I think it absorbs its flavors, and it really does. So it could just be that too. It just needs a little bit of something.
I used 2 jalapenos, and I took the seeds out of 1.5. So half of a jalapeno still had the seeds, and I'm tasting it. So
good.
It's got some heat, but maybe I love the idea of the chocolate. How much chocolate did you put in?
I just put in 1 square. Usually I only use a half a square, but because
is that like an ounce?
Yeah.
An ounce, Kelly? Okay.
An ounce.
I'm going to try that.
I'm letting it soak in there and absorb and melt, and then I'm going to taste it again. I thought maybe because back in the mole, somebody who was that might end up with the coffee end up being more like a mole taste. It could be good. I ended up using different kinds of tomatoes too because I didn't have all of the same kind of tomato. So I used a combination of fire roasted tomatoes and tomato sauce. So I thought that would give it the zip that it needed, but that didn't do it either. So we'll see.
Maybe a hot sauce too. I've got this Cholula hot sauce, or like a sriracha,
good idea.
or maybe at serving. There's something you could do just at serving time too. But maybe a couple tablespoons of the hot sauce. Okay.
Dominique, was it you that was saying that you add salsa to chili?
Yes, I find that it just like brings everything together.
You put it in, like not at the end. You mean you add it in while it's cooking?
I add it while it's cooking.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't cook off any liquid. The other thing that can be good with chili is just a little bit of sugar. Just a little bit.
Really? Like what? A teaspoon?
You can do, I wouldn't even add that much. Maybe a half a teaspoon. Honey, you can add. I think the cookbook, Jerry Seinfeld's wife wrote, there's honey in her chili. Samin Nosrat did that great show, Salt, Acid, Fat, Heat, but sugar, like think about it. Thai food, there is not one Thai recipe that doesn't have sugar in it. It's not that it's going to taste sweet, but it does something to the flavor the way salt does.
Right. And don't forget, we've got that vinegar. I'm going to go ahead and add mine in now because we're getting towards the end of our time. And it's been almost 30 minutes anyway. I'm going to add the last 2 things, the corn and the tablespoon of red wine vinegar. So that might adjust the taste as well.
I guess it's also possible that some of the flavors will develop as it sits a little while, right? So
I think so. Yeah, that's what we were saying. Chili's often better the next day.
I had a friend years ago.
I was off by getting a
teenager.
handful of chocolate chips to put in the chili.
I had a friend years ago who was when I was a teenager, he rented a room at a good friend's parents' house, and he sort of took us all under his wing. And he cooked chili with us once on the wood stove. He was a cowboy. He was a retired rodeo cowboy. And he cooked it, and he said, "But come back tomorrow, because once it cools down, the spices all marry together. And then tomorrow it'll have its full flavor." And I just always loved that metaphor that the spices marry together overnight.
It's wild. Or like, isn't it Emerald that said they get happy? All the ingredients get happy together.
Well, hopefully this isn't an indication about the state of my marriage, but did anybody else have this happen with their white chili? So I made the white chili last week and I thought it was delicious at the time. And then I had our family's meal the next day of it, and it was bland as could be. And it had so much flavor the day before.
Huh.
My flavor's unmarried. Is that something I should be concerned about?
Divorce in the kitchen.
It got my flavors divorced while they were settling in. It was ridiculous.
Weird.
Yeah.
Not fair.
In fairness, in my house, they like the lentil one that has the sweet potatoes in it. And so I made it a couple of times, and whatever the one is with the spinach, the wild rice and spinach, or whatever. One of them has kale, one of them has spinach. They like those two better than anything else I've made. They're not going to get to taste this, so too bad about them.
Same here. That's the one that everyone in my household liked the most. We made it again.
The wild rice.
Yeah, but I used white rice because I didn't have wild rice. But it
I
was
actually mix the two because the wild rice is so expensive. So I just go get some, so it brings some other colors into it, and then make it with whatever rice is handy. But
okay, so I don't have red wine vinegar. Any other vinegar? I have apple vinegar and
yeah, any other kind of vinegar. Or even a tablespoon of red wine. Oh gosh, you'll have to open up a bottle of wine, Cheryl.
Oh,
What will you do with the rest of it?
So I put a handful of bittersweet chocolate in the chili that also has the coffee. It's not bad.
Oh man.
And I like the
That's
theory that
great.
chocolate with anything is always an improvement. Great idea. Thank you, Kelly.
I'm just here for the first time. So I made my chili earlier today and I'm here just listening. But my question is, on the paper, like we're going to drop off in Chevy Chase tomorrow, how exactly do I label these containers?
great question. So it's also on the website. And
Yep.
what you want to include is today's and the date that you are cooking the food, what it is. So we'll say chili. And if you have room, your first name and last initial, just so there's some way of knowing there's a human being admitting to have done this.
Okay.
And then we want to mark it with any food allergies or food restriction information. So if you made a vegetarian chili, mark it vegetarian. If you didn't, chili will warn people that there's meat in it and you don't need to worry about it. But typically we're just going to mark it with whatever food allergies or food restrictions might help people know whether this is something they can eat.
So basically, I'm just going to say January, what's today, 2nd?
2nd, yeah.
January 2nd, chili and D.
Yes, and if you have room on whatever you're writing, you can say kind soup for the soul, but you don't need to. Whatever Those are the main things we want you to say: the date, your name, what it is, and any food restrictions or sensitivities.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Here to help, only take soups from us. Should say something, definitely say something about KindWorks.
Yeah.
Because when I called last week, she said, "Are you with Kind?" You know, I said, she said yes. That's the only mistake.
That makes great. Yeah, that really helps. Thank you, Marcia.
Deb, I wasn't able to take the soup last week, so I still have it in my freezer. Is it okay if I still deliver that? It's all labeled and everything.
Absolutely,
Okay.
absolutely. Another
We're gonna get a lot
benefit to
then.
freezing it. Yeah, that's great.
Okay.
I'm not the only one who misbehaves. I deliver two batches of soup each week, which is why the one that my family likes the most, they get to have, you know, the one with the wild rice and the one with the sweet potatoes, because I have that in the freezer from Tuesday or Wednesday or whenever I made it. Sometimes I reverse them, which is why, as you know, I don't normally cook when I'm supposed to be cooking, but today I'm doing the right thing. Next week is the soup with the quinoa, correct?
Oh, it actually, I think you're right. Dominique, you're not for another week after that. Let me.
I thought it was the borscht.
No, I think it's borscht with me. I'm just a week off.
We're doing the
Absolutely right.
borscht.
Next week is the borscht, and I will be cooking something other than that because
you don't like beets. You've tried.
But have you tried this one? This is going to rock your world, how different this one is from what you expect.
Deb, every couple of years, my husband eats beets. Every couple of years, if he's out in the restaurants, I will try them.
Good girl, Marge.
And every time I really think these are disgusting. Now, in fairness, I have tried golden beets, and I can at least get those down. I don't like them, but the red ones are just overpowering.
You know, it's funny. Beets, when I eat them like in a salad or something like that, to me, they taste a little like dirt, if I'm honest. And like, I'm not a huge beet fan in general. I'll eat them like you said, but I only eat them in the soup. I'm not trying to pressure you to make the soup. I'm just saying it's not an overwhelming beet flavor.
The color is magnificent. It really does match. That's the color of my front door, is honestly magenta. I don't want to eat my front door. Sorry.
You know, I'm like that with sushi. I think sushi is this beautiful food. I don't like it. I've tried it without wasabi. I've tried the cooked ones. I've tried the California rolls. I want to like sushi desperately. I think it's artistic and beautiful, and I just don't.
We all have weird things. You know, I can remember seeing borscht at my grandparents ate borscht. I should ask my mother if she eats borscht. I don't think she does. My father may have. But to me, it's too much. So we'll see. I'll make something else. Maybe I'll make this again next week. We'll see.
We love you no matter what you make, Marge.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Well, I
want to thank everybody for all the creativity today. I did put the cocoa in, and next time, even though I don't drink coffee, I'm going to get the Keurig going, and I'm going to try it with the coffee. Yeah, these things will really play off each other well. I'll bet you if we had a taste test, everybody's would be different and delicious.
Mine tastes great now. I use some cayenne pepper, and it's great. Yeah.
Awesome.
Okay.
Mine tastes really good. The real test will be my son trying it in a few minutes, because he's the chili guy in the family. So I'll let you all know.
And did you make yours with lentils or beef, Salma?
With beef and with coffee.
With beef?
For the first time.
Cool.
Cough. Huh.
I'm going to go and find those lentils. Where did that can of lentils come from? I did not see them in the jar. I did.
Or Progresso.
Also
Progresso.
I ordered them from Wegmans.
Ah.
I do.
All right. Well, we are about at 6 o'clock, and I don't want to keep anybody any longer than we promised. So unless anybody has any questions about finishing up, I just want to thank everybody very much for being here, and wish you again a happy New Year.
Yeah.
Thank you. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to everyone.
Happy New Year.
Hope we see you at future Saturdays.
Right. And look at Giant, Marge.
I did look at Giant.
On the end of I got it today. Okay. Progresso. It's Progresso.
Progresso?
Yes.
Oh, I looked over where the beans were. I didn't see the Progresso stuff, but I'll go look.
Okay.
Oh, I just want to say something to Deb real quick, and I'm sure everyone will agree, but my daughter walked in from a walk and she went, "It's Deb Lang." And we were muted and I said, "I know." And she goes, "I love Deb Lang." But you're Deb Lang.
Oh, sweet.
Bye. Happy New Year. I said we all love Deb Lang, which is true.